Good morning and welcome. This is Cheche, the show where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV. I'm your host, Udwaka Nemo. Now, from September, Kenya will no longer use, manufacture, and import plastic bags. Kenya would join other East African countries like Rwanda, Tanzania, and Eritrea, which have already banned the use of plastic bags. That's if the Ministry of Environment has its way. I say if because there are complaints already. Manufacturers say they were not consulted and there will be job losses as a result of the ban. After some initial skepticism, the National Assembly Committee on Environment recently appeared to agree with industry. And so we'll get to the bottom of this with today's guests. Jeffrey Wahungu, the Director General of the National Environment Management Authority, or NEMA, and Amina Abdallah, the Chair of the National Assembly's Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. She's a nominated MP. As always, we have the regular panel of Mutegi Njao and Charles Odhiambo, both of Real Media Services. So good morning and welcome to the show. I'll start with you, Mr. Wahungu, because we marked World Environment Day this week. And we all seem to agree that we should protect our environment. So banning plastic bags should be a good thing. Why is there such stiff opposition to it?
Thank you, Doc. Yes, we did on Monday celebrate the World Environment Day 2017. I don't think I have a ready answer to your question, but my take on the same is that not all good is taken the way it comes. When the Cabinet Secretary gazetted this ban, plastic has been a problem.
March.
That was on 28th of February. At that time, we knew, or we thought, and we knew that Kenyans are actually tired. Plastic has intruded into our every aspect of our lives. So we thought, and we are still convinced, that what we did was for public good and natural justice to the environment. We are, however, not surprised, because as you are aware, some of those opposing, like the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, have done that before many times since the last 15 years.
Okay. What exactly has been banned? Clarify that for us.
To be exact, what has been banned are two types of plastics. The carrier bags, that is the bag that normally when you go to any retail outlet, like a supermarket or a kiosk, and you have an item that you have bought, never mind that it could already be packaged, you are then given a bag, or you buy, depending on where the outlet is, where you put these things. And sometimes we have that, it has a carrier, so we call that the carrier bag. And it's clear that where you put something to carry it along. Number two are the flat bags. These flat bags may have what we call a gauze, which means like a bottom to sit on to make it stable, and it may have the carrier, or it may not have. That is basically that flat bag, and we don't know that mostly they are very flimsy. They are also carriers, but they don't have a carrier.
So the sort of bags that we would use for our garbage?
From garbage bags to laundry bags, the ones we take to the laundry, and then the ones which the mama mboga puts the cat burger for you inside, the one that the butcher will put for you meat, and several others. So those, and sometimes people use them even for carrying milk, paraffin, etc.
So it's not a total ban, it's a partial ban?
No, it's not. In fact, for health reasons...
Which is it, total or partial?
It is actually a partial ban. Because for clarity, it is good to say that primary packaging, particularly where the polythene is in contact with the item, the product, could it be food, for example, say packaging for cheese, packaging for milk, the packet, packaging for sweets, packaging for soaps, any plastic which is in contact with the item that is being bought, and mainly for health reasons, that is not even banned. Packaging for say fruit for export, packaging for cement, packaging for sausages, all those where you are the product in contact with the item, those are not banned. What is the reason for that? Health reasons, and also reasons for...
Don't they pollute? The packaging, don't they pollute? Once you use whatever is packaged, and it's left over. Doesn't it pollute?
Our next step is that they are always identified, they are labeled, so it is easy for us to go for extended polluter responsibility on the same.
But that's tricky, because if you say any sort of plastic bag that is in contact with food, what about vegetables? You use the same carrier bags, you buy vegetables, they are put in the carrier bag. So does it mean at that point it's not illegal?
You have used the word carrier.
It's used to pack the grain.
Okay, hold on. I think what Charles is trying to say, imagine going to the supermarket or somewhere to buy sukuma wiki. Okay? The vegetables are in bulk. And so instead of having the sort of polythene wrappers you're describing, which cover fruit and various other things, you put them in a carrier bag, right? So what then happens? Because in that instance, the carrier bag is the primary packaging.
We have been accustomed to that because the carrier bags are there. But carrier bags have not always been there. You used to go to Mamamboga and you get a sisal rope, a small piece of sisal rope, makonge, to tie your boga, and then you go and cut it at home. So basically, that is where we want to go where we came from. Just because these are free and they are available and polluting our environment, that's why we've gotten used to this. It's like we can't do it any other way.
So, look, this is not the first time we've tried to manage the use of plastic bags. We've had several other attempts, 3 others, I believe, over the past 15 years. What will be different this time around?
What's different this time around is that we have actually gone for ban of importation, manufacture and use. In the past, and why it was difficult, we dealt on standards. The thickness. That is even very difficult to implement, and that is where we got into problems. It is very difficult for us to, even when you go to inspect or to enforce compliance, or even to explain to citizens what is 60 millimeters, what is 30 millimeters. Therein lay our problem. This time, we just isolate 2 types and ban them all together. That's easier for us.
This kind of ban needs a lot of education and socialization. When I just ban, what have you done to wananchi to tell them to have, to have a habit? When you go to the supermarket, wherever you go to, you buy a kiondo, or you go with your kiondo from home, or you go with whatever. What have you done to educate the public that this is going to happen? Be ready, and it's for your good.
We are aware, and we have done a lot. Okay, NEMA has done a lot of awareness, the ministry, for the last 10 years. Kenyans, Mutegi, you agree with me, have very unique characteristics. And a lot of the time,
Kenyans are not any special from other Uganda.
I know.
Or Rwandese.
I know. So, and you know how they did it in Rwanda? So what we are saying, if you are unwell and you have a doctor, the doctor can prescribe medicine and keep giving you therapy and advising you. But when it is time to do surgery, because it is looking like maybe you are not taking your medication very well and the disease is going, if he has to cut, the time becomes to cut to save your life. He has to do it.
Okay.
And we'll go along still preaching the message of awareness and what Kenyans have to do. But it has reached a time where the doctor has to do a procedure.
Mr. Abdallah, we come to you now. Please clarify the position of yourself and your committee on this ban on plastic bags.
Thank you, Udwak. I want to first of all begin by saying to congratulate the ministry, because in my opinion this is the boldest decision that they've ever made, and in the case of NEMA, I think this is one opportunity that they have stood up to industry in the interest of the public good, and it's something that should be commented. My committee has no problem with the ban. We support the ban, and every Kenyan should support the ban. The effects that plastics are having in our economy, clogging our marine and aquatic systems and our livestock, and the contribution to the garbage is known to everyone. So the question is that we are in support of the ban. The issue we are dealing with is a petition that was presented to us by the Honorable Olago Loch, whose prayers were that the ban be suspended because the players were not consulted and that the time was too short. But perhaps the only issue that he raised was the compliance with the Statutory Instrument Act, which the DG NEMA does know that he has done that for all other regulations, the tire one, the electronic waste, and it's a very simple procedure. That's the only aspect that we urge the ministry to comply with to address that.
Okay, so you've told us several things. Let's go through them one by one. But first, clarify your position. Is the ban still in effect, or is it suspended?
You see, the ban is a gazette notice. It's a legal instrument. It cannot be suspended unless it's annulled. So suspension is a recommendation to the ministry that we found the following, comply with them so that it makes it easier for you to implement it. So for us, we're looking at, you're just not producing a regulation that you can see some loopholes that you need to address and you've not addressed, and they're so easy to address.
So the ban, therefore, the clock is ticking on the 6-month countdown.
Yes.
So when we then come to compliance, one of the things I believe your committee said was that you agreed with industry that 6 months was too short for them to switch over, clear their stocks, and ban the use and importation and manufacture, stop rather the use, manufacture and importation of plastic bags.
They shared with us that the notice was too short, but our recommendation was for them to have discussions with NEMA and the ministry for purposes of confirming, because we never went to the industry to see their stocks. We didn't get to that detail. So
why do we need to see their stocks? If they are bad, they're bad.
They are bad and they should be banned.
So if using them, if somebody is sick, just discontinue, stop.
Yes.
I don't think there is any need for them to get time to do what? To continue polluting our country.
I don't believe they should get time. In any case, they already have the 2 more months to August 28th.
Continue polluting our country.
No, that's not the case. The case is that they have 2 months and the ministry has something to comply with, and it's something very easy.
Do the manufacturers have a point? Were they consulted?
Before we get to that, I just want to be clear with Ms. Abdallah. So are you saying that the press misquoted you when you seem to agree with industry that the timeline of 6 months was unreasonably short?
That's the agreement by the committee. That's the finding of the committee. My recommendation, what I read in the recommendation is that industry and NEMA needs to consult on the questions raised, which were 3: timeliness, consultation, and the Statutory Instrument Act. So those are the areas that they were to consult with.
So as the chair of the Parliamentary Committee, what would constitute appropriate timeliness?
I support a ban. So for me, I would want it to happen today. Yes. Because, I mean, the problem is huge. And for me to call their decision bold, it's something that NEMA it's their role to enforce actions against environmental pollution. They are in charge. But this is their time that they have taken charge and are acting. So for us, we're just telling them, you've taken charge. If there's any loophole that anybody can raise in the future, discuss with it, conclude it, and you have the time to do it. And it's so easy.
Right. So Charles, then we come to the question for the Director General.
Was there enough consultation, especially with the stakeholders, the manufacturers here?
The answer is yes.
Too much.
Too much consultation.
Too much consultation.
Thanks. Yeah. We presented to the chair's committee 27 number of meetings. There are more, but 27 are the ones the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and KEPSA were present. I want to say that we have had very many meetings with CAM. We are very good partners. A lot of them were not on plastics, but those on plastics were 27. Between 2005 and 2014, we talked about standards. All those meetings, about 14 meetings on standards, thickness, what. NEMA saw an unwilling partner to move forward, even on standards. And therefore, from 2014 to present, we shifted gear to ban, total ban. on our first meeting with them, it is on record that they tried to change the topic from total ban back to the same standard thing, where we were actually going around in circles. We have presented that to the Parliamentary Committee. Number two, our take on the day that we met the Parliamentary Committee on the issue of the Instruments Act, Statutory Instruments Act. We reason that, and Chair, you are aware that we worked together with you. You have helped us in many of these regulations and acts. We have followed the Statutory Instrument Acts. On this occasion, our take is that we are still using the Waste Management Act of 2003 and the revised EMCA 2015. And under that, Environment Management and Coordination Act 1999, which was revised in 2015 to align it with the Constitution, still with a lot of support from the committee. The Cabinet Secretary within EMCA, or the Environment Management Coordination Act, is mandated with advice from the authority to exercise her powers to give prescriptions, and it goes to any activities which are detrimental or polluting the environment. Under that, she can gazette under the EMCA Act and under the Waste Management Regulation of 2006 and exercise her to actually control that, and the Chair agrees with me. So then the bad thing is that, Chair, we really understand who our client is. We have interacted with this client for 15 years. We have records, and therefore the issue of time, when you say 6 months is too short, it's like we are driving, we've been indicating that we want to turn, and for like 10 kilometers, and when we turn, suddenly somebody says, I didn't know. You know, it is not sincere.
Okay. Now, in your meetings, you have had those any meetings. The industry, the producers of plastics, the manufacturers, what justification? They know there is pollution. How do they want to mitigate that? How do they want to sort out their mess? Because other people, if you mess something, you correct it. How do they suggest that you can sort out the pollution?
What they are proposing is to give us some funds. They would like to give us a levy, and they did that some time back, and that levy has not come to waste management. They want to give us a levy. In the past, we have always had, I want to talk about 2016, as Chair, you are aware, we wanted to do waste management, and we had what is called the Rapid Resource Initiative.
You know, let's park waste management for a minute, because you've talked about the insincerity of the partners, and I would like to challenge Ms. Abdallah on sincerity as well, because Mr. Wahungu tells us that this engagement has been going on for about 15 years, and you tell us here that you say that there's been too much consultation, and yet you're quoted in the press as saying that even where NEMA adduced evidence of meetings and discussion, there were no specific discussions with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers on the subject of ban on the use, manufacture and importations of plastics. In instances, this is now a direct quote, where the subject was on the agenda for discussion, there was no evidence to indicate the participation of CAM in such meetings.
Yes, the director has already told you that the meetings from 2005 to 2014 were basically on standards and levy and regulations. So the one that the minutes that we read that indicates plastic ban, when they were approving the agenda, the first thing the participants did was to change the agenda to back to regulation and standards. So then the next subsequent meeting, their presentation were list of people without a name on CAM. So that lack of sincerity on the part of the manufacturers is true in the evidence we've seen.
But then you're allowing them to manipulate you, because you're talking about the minutes and the topics being changed, understanding what NEMA is trying to achieve, and then you therefore agree with these manipulated minutes.
You see, the point is we only react to the evidence that was presented to us, and the Director General of NEMA would tell you that the meeting that he and the Minister presented to the committee, I was not chairing, but the report, what you're reading in the press, is the report of the committee, and the report of the committee is the collective agreement of those who are present.
But Mheshimiwa, Udwak is raising an issue here. It appears like the Association of Manufacturers is trying to manipulate the committee outrightly to look at things from their perspective. And yet Mutegi asked earlier on, how much more should Kenyans suffer? Remember, as parliamentarians, you act for Kenyans. Whose stakes are higher, the public or CAM?
The public. And as I said in the beginning, this is the first opportunity that NEMA has actually been very strong on the part of the public interest. But that does not stop the fact that if there is a point that has been raised by a petitioner, you just don't disregard it because the issues are in their favor. But in this case, it's not a matter that has stopped the ban. It is a matter that's telling Director General NEMA and the CS, we want you to succeed. For you to succeed, just finish this small thing.
You have said that you did not chair that meeting. But,
yeah.
But we knowing that our parliament and those committees, how they are compromised and influenced through manipulation, through whatever means, isn't it possible that there are those members who took part in that meeting, probably while compromised by the industry?
I wouldn't speak for the members who were in that meeting, but based on what Olago Oluoch's presentation, he convinced several members, and he had all members agreeing that he is...
Doesn't Mr. Olago Oluoch see the pollution in this country?
I'm telling you, I don't believe there's one single member of parliament who does not agree with the ban. The ban is a good thing. It should happen.
Only you want everything put straight.
Yes.
But he's talked about MCA. Doesn't it capture the whole thing in totality?
And doesn't the years of engagement on this count for, you know, as he says, stakeholder engagement?
Udwak, I don't want to be consulting on behalf of the producers. But what I have to say now is why I'm saying that I think the ministry needs to address the requirements of the Statutory Instrument Act. Because there are incidences that the court can't stop the implementation of a regulation basically because it did not comply with that instrument. And the complying of it is so simple. It's a matter of the minister writing and sending the copy of the draft and saying, we have had this long consultation with industry that is insincere, so our consultations are not getting anywhere. We think that the alternatives are there. Banning this would not affect anything. So you place that in Parliament. And in 21 days, whether the Committee on Delegated Legislation acts on it or not, there is no question about you not having complied. And it's something very, very easy. We're just saying, don't hype up that we banned plastic, yet you have this small loophole that you're leaving. And that was the only thing, in my opinion, that in Olago Oluoch's presentation made sense. The ball is in the ministry's court.
And it's so glaring. I mean,
what's the problem with that?
No, I know that it's difficult for me to get myself into a position where I'm differing with the chair, but I would like to get her opinion on this issue. Under the law, the cabinet secretary and the chair is very well versed on these issues. We have the legislation and we have the executive. The cabinet secretary exercised her mandate within the law. She didn't have to go through the statutory regulations, the statutory instruments regulation, because she was not doing a new law or act. She was just exercising her. The law says very clearly, the framework law, that with the advice of NEMA, the cabinet secretary can do this. We advised her. She then went ahead before the Gazette notice and got written advice from the Attorney General. And it was not easy, even getting that from the Attorney General. The Attorney General asked for many documents, the same ones that the committee asked for. We thought, and we were very convinced, I know you were not chairing on that day, but we were very convinced that what we gave Parliament and what the complaints were, we fulfilled them to the full. I would like to get your opinion, Chair, on this. The Cabinet Secretary was exercising her right and her mandate within the MCA law. She didn't have to go through the Statutory Instruments Act. That is our correct position, and we would like to go with that. So from where I sit, and we have planned this for a long time because we know who we are dealing with and we know how they work. We have worked with them. I would like to convince you, because I know your position on this matter and on the environment, that the Cabinet Secretary got enough advice and she was within her right and her mandate to actually do that Gazette notice. The Gazette notice is legal.
Can it be challenged? Because that's the issue. Can it be challenged in court?
So look, let me get
Mr. Dalla respond, and then we go for a break. So that
I have the disadvantage of being the mover of the Statutory Instrument Act, and I moved it in 2012. And when I say that the minister should comply, it is in the interest of the minister and in the interest of this ban for the minister to comply. The minister has the power to exercise delegated authority to do any regulation. But the loophole that is there in the law is that if she does not table it in Parliament, you're giving the people you've just said are difficult, and I can confirm they are difficult and they're really good lobbyists, are going to go to court. So you have 28 till August 28th to comply with something simple that ties their hands into making any further action. Why are you refusing to do it?
Okay, so let's come back on that point then. This is Cheche, and we're live on Citizen TV. We're discussing the latest attempt to ban plastic bags in Kenya. Will it work? Tell us what you think. Our SMS number is 22422, or you can tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.